Good morning, my beautiful kids. I miss you so much. Miss Jones has some allergy stuff going on today, so if I'm like sneezy, excuse me. It's just allergies, I swear. I'm super healthy. And I'm kind of hanging out in my bedroom today because Landon's awake. And he does not want to hear me read The Tale of Despereaux, so he kicked me out of the living room. So I am in my bedroom, and my dogs are sleeping. They're bored because it's rainy outside and they can't go outside, so they're sad about that. So we're going to hang out in here and read together, okay? And I think we can get close to finishing today, maybe even finish. So I'm excited about that. And you guys know I will be sending your parents a link pretty soon where you can take AR tests from home. I know we've never been able to do that before, but this is a new thing that we're all going through together right now, right? So we got to switch some stuff up and we got to do some stuff at home, and that's okay. Um, and then you will also be able to do, I'm setting you guys up with Study Island. So you will have your own logins and everything that I will send to your parents so that you can do all your lessons on there. And then I will be filming some short lessons for you that will go along with each of your lessons with Study Island so that you can have some extra help. And I will always be here and available for you. If you need to call me, text me, uh, ask me on YouTube, whatever. Ask me questions about stuff. I'm always here for you. Okay. All right. So, Despereaux. Okay. So let's start with Roscoe and Miggery Sow have put the plan into action. Mig thinks that they're going to kidnap the princess and that the princess is going to switch places with her, and Mig is going to be the princess and the princess is going to be a servant. I remember Mig's not real smart, so I don't think that Mig wants anything bad to happen. I don't think she wants to hurt the princess or that she has any ill will toward the princess. She's just not very intelligent, so she doesn't really understand. And Roscoe's actual plan is to kidnap the princess to get revenge and lock her in the dungeon forever. And so they have two different plans going on, but Mig is just not aware of Roscoe's evil plan. Despereaux finds out that the princess has been kidnapped, and he goes back into the dungeon to save her. And so where we've gotten so far is he got the spool of red thread from the threadmaster because he knew he needed to have a rope or something to help him find his way out of the dungeon whenever he found her. So he got the spool of red thread from the threadmaster, and he lost it, right? It fell down the stairs, and it is in the darkness and he can't find it. Well, he has run into Botticelli, the evil rat. He's even worse than Roscoe. And so that's where we left off, where Despereaux had met Botticelli, and the only thing Despereaux has to protect himself is a needle, right? Okay, chapter 49. What do you want, Miggery Sow? Again, reader, we must go backward before we can go forward. We must consider for a moment what had occurred with the rat and the serving girl and the princess down in the dungeon before Despereaux made his way to them. What happened was this. Roscoe led the Pea and Mig deep into the dungeon to hide to a hidden chamber, and there he directed Mig to put the princess in chains. Gore, said Mig. She's going to have a hard time learning her lessons if she's all chained up like. Do as I say, said Roscoe. Maybe, said Mig, before I lock her up and her and me could switch outfits, so we could start in already with her being me and me being a princess. Oh, yes, said Roscoe, certainly. A wonderful idea. Miss Miggery, princess, take off your crown and give it to the serving girl. The Pea sighed and took off her crown and handed it to Mig, and Mig put it on and slid it immediately right down her small head. It came to rest, quite painfully, on her poor abused ears. It's a biggish thing, she said, and painful like. Well, well, said Roscoe. How do I look? Asked Mig, smiling at him. Ridiculous. Laughable, said Roscoe. Mig stood, blinking back tears. You mean I don't look like a princess? She said to the rat. I mean, said Roscoe, you will never look like a princess, no matter how big a crown you put on your tiny head. You look exactly like the fool you are and always will be. Now, make yourself useful and chain the princess up. Dress up time is over. Mig sniffed and wiped at her eyes and then bent to look at the pile of chains and locks on the floor. And now, princess, he said, I'm afraid that the time for your truth has arrived. I will now tell you what your future holds. As you consign me to the darkness, I consign you too, to a life spent in this dungeon. Mig looked up. Ain't she going upstairs to be a servant maid? No, said Roscoe. Ain't I going to be a princess then? No, said Roscoe. But I want to be a princess. No one, said Roscoe, cares what you want. As you know, reader, Miggery Sow had heard this sentence expressed many times in her short life. But now, in the dungeon, it hit her full force. The rat was right. No one cared what she wanted. No one had ever cared. And perhaps, worst of all, no one would ever care. I want, cried Mig. Shh, said the princess. Shut up, said the rat. I want, sobbed Mig. I want. What do you want, Mig? The princess said softly. Huh? Said Mig. What do you want, Miggery Sow? Shouted the princess. Don't ask her that, said Roscoe. Shut up, shut up. But it was too late. The words had been said. The question, at last, had been asked. The world stopped spinning and all creation held its breath, waiting to hear what it was that Miggery Sow wanted. I want, said Mig. Yes, shouted the pea. I want my ma, cried Mig into the silent, waiting world. I want my ma. Oh, said the princess. She held out her hand to Mig. Mig took hold of it. I want my mother too, said the princess softly, and she squeezed Mig's hand. Stop it, shouted Roscoe. Chain her up! Chain her up! Gore, said Mig. I ain't gonna do it. You can't make me do it. I got the knife, don't I? She shook the knife and held it up. Okay, so here's a picture of poor Mig and the princess, and then Roscoe with the spoon on his head and his red cape. So here's poor Mig. Remember they said that she gained a lot of weight, and then she's got the crown on her head, and then the princess here trying to make her feel better. And then right there is the rat Roscoe with the spoon on his head and his cape flowing out. If you have any sense at all, said Roscoe, and I heartily doubt that you do, you will not use that instrument on me. Without me, you will never find your way out of the dungeon, and you will starve to death here, or worse. Gore, said Mig. That let us out now, and I will chop you. Then let us out now, or I will chop you into little rat bits. No, said Roscoe. The princess shall stay here in the darkness, and you, Mig, will stay with her. But I want to go upstairs, said Mig. I'm afraid that we are stuck here, Mig, shouted the princess, unless the rat has a change of heart and decides to let us out. There will be no change of heart, said Roscoe. None. Gore, said Mig. She lowered her knife. And so the rat and the princess and the serving girl sat together in the dungeon. As outside the castle the sun rose and moved through the sky and sank to the earth again, and night fell. They sat together until the candle had burned out and another one had to be lit. They sat together in the dungeon. They sat and sat. And reader, truthfully, they might be sitting there still if a mouse had not arrived. Chapter 50, in which the princess says his name. Princess! Shouted Despereaux. Princess, I have come to save you. The Princess P heard her name. She looked up. Despereaux? She whispered. And then she shouted it, Despereaux! Reader, nothing is sweeter in this sad world than the sound of someone you love calling your name. Nothing. For Despereaux, the sound was worth everything. His lost tail, his trip to the dungeon, and back out of it and back into it again. He ran toward the princess. But Roscoe, baring his teeth, blocked the mouse's way. The princess cried, "Oh no, Rat, please don't hurt him. He's my friend." Mig said, "Don't worry, princess. I will save the Misi." She took the kitchen knife. She aimed to cut off the rat's head, but she missed her mark. "Whoopsie," said Miggery Sow. I wonder what she hit with it. Chapter 51. What is that smell? "Ow!" screamed Roscoe. He turned to look at where his tail had been, and as he did, Despereaux drew his needle and placed the sharp tip of it right where the rat's heart should be. "Don't move," said Despereaux. "I will kill you." Botticelli laughed from the sidelines. "Exactly." He slapped his tail on the floor in approval. "Absolutely delightful. A mouse is going to kill a rat. Oh, all of this is much better than I anticipated. I love it when mice come to the dungeon." Here is a picture, and this is a crazy picture. I'm sorry, I have to kind of put my face in here so I can see. Despereaux, and he see how little he is, and he's got his needle, and then there is Roscoe. Here's his face, and he's got the spoon on his head, and then this is the cape that's flowing out behind him. "Let me see," said the other rats, pushing and shoving. "Stand back," Botticelli told them, still laughing. "Let the mouse do his work." Despereaux held the trembling needle against Roscoe's heart. The mouse knew that as a knight, it was his duty to protect the princess. But would killing the rat really make the darkness go away? Despereaux bowed his head ever so slightly. As he did so, his whiskers brushed against the rat's nose. Roscoe sniffed. "What is that smell?" he asked. "Mouse blood!" shouted one rat. "You're smelling tears," said Botticelli. "Tears and thwarted love." "Exactly," said Roscoe. "And yet, there's something else." He sniffed again, and the smell of soup crashed through his soul like a great wave, bringing with it the memory of the light, the chandelier, the music, the laughter, everything, all the things that were not, would never, could never be available to him as a rat. "Soup," moaned Roscoe, and he began to cry. "Boo!" shouted Botticelli. "Sss!" hissed the other rats. "Kill me," said Roscoe. He fell down before Despereaux. "It will never work. All I wanted was some light. That is why I brought the princess here, really, just for some beauty, some light of my own." "Please," said Botticelli, "do kill him. He's a miserable excuse for a rat." "No, Despereaux," said the princess, "don't kill him." Despereaux lowered his needle. He turned and looked at the pea. "Boo!" shouted Botticelli again. "Kill him! Kill him! All this goodness is making me sick. I've lost my appetite." "Gore!" shouted Mig, waving her knife. "I'll kill him." "No, wait," said the princess. "Roscoe," she said to the rat. "What?" he said, tears falling out of his eyes. If Miss Jones can turn the page, we'll read on. Tears falling out of his eyes and creeping down his whiskers and dripping onto the dungeon floor. And then the princess took a deep breath and put a hand on her heart. I think, reader, that she was feeling the same thing that Despereaux had felt when he was faced with his father begging him for forgiveness. That is, P was aware suddenly of how fragile her heart was. How much darkness was inside it, fighting always with the light. She did not like the rat. She would never like the rat, but she knew what she must do to save her own heart. And so, here are the words that the princess spoke to her enemy. She said, "Roscoe, would you like some soup?" The rat sniffed. "Don't torment me," he said. "I promise you," said the princess, "if you lead us out of here, I will get cook to make you some soup, and you can eat it in the banquet hall." "Speaking of eating," shouted one of the rats, "give us the mousie." "Yeah," shouted another, "hand over the mouse." "Who would want him now?" said Botticelli. "The flavor of him will be ruined. All that forgiveness and goodness, blech! I, for one, am leaving." "Soup in the banquet hall?" Roscoe asked the princess. "Yes," said the pea. "Really?" "Truly, I promise." "Gore," said Mig. "Soup is illegal." "But soup is good," said Despereaux. "Yes," said the pea. "Isn't it?" The princess bent down before the mouse. "You are my knight," she said to him, "with a shining needle. And I am so glad that you found me. Let's go upstairs. Let's eat some soup." And reader, they did. Chapter 52, Happily Ever After. But the question you want answered, I know, is, did they live happily ever after? Yes and no. What of Roscoe? Did he live happily ever after? Well, the Princess Pea gave him free access to the upstairs of the castle, and he was allowed to go back and forth from the darkness of the dungeon to the light of the upstairs. But alas, he never really belonged in either place. The sad fate, I am afraid, of those whose hearts break and then mend in crooked ways. But the rat, in seeking forgiveness, did manage to shed some small light, some happiness into another life. How? Roscoe, reader, told the princess about the prisoner who had once owned the red tablecloth. I forgot about him, guys. And the princess saw to it that the prisoner was released. And Roscoe led the man up out of the dungeon and to his daughter, Miggery Sow. Mig, as you might have guessed, did not get to be a princess. But her father, to atone for what he had done, treated her like one for the rest of his days. And what of Despereaux? Did he live happily ever after? Well, he did not marry the princess, if that's what you mean by happily ever after. Even in a world as strange as this one, a mouse and a princess cannot marry. But, reader, they can be friends. And they were. Together, they had many adventures. Those adventures, however, are another story. And this story, I'm afraid, must draw to a close. But before you leave, reader, imagine this. Imagine, as an adoring king and a glowing princess, a serving girl with a crown on her head and a rat with a spoon on his, all gathered around a table in a banquet hall. In the middle of the table, there was a great kettle of soup. Sitting in the place of honor, right next to the princess, is a very small mouse with big ears. And peeking out from behind a dusty velvet curtain, looking in amazement at the scene before them, are 4 other mice. "Mon Dieu! Look, look," says Antoinette. Remember, Antoinette is Despereaux's mother, who was really kind of cruel to him. He lives! He lives! And he seems such the happy mouse." "Forgiven," whispers Lester. Remember, Lester's Despereaux's father. "Cripes," says Furlough. "Unbelievable." Despereaux's brother. Remember, Furlough's the one that turned him in. "Just so," says the Threadmaster Hovis, smiling. "Just so." And, reader, it is just so. Isn't it? The end. Here's a picture of them eating in the banquet hall. You have, let's see, who is this? That's the king. Then the little Despereaux and the Princess Pea. And then over here is Roscoe with a spoon on his head. And, way over here is Despereaux's family looking on. It's over. let's see. There's a little bit more. It says coda. Do you remember when Despereaux was in the dungeon, cupped in Gregory the jailer's hand, whispering a story in the old man's ear? I would like it very much if you thought of me as a mouse telling you a story. This story was with the whole of my heart, whispering it in your ear in order to save myself from the darkness, and to save you from darkness too. Stories are light, Gregory the jailer told Despereaux. Reader, I hope you have found some light here. And there's Despereaux with his little needle. So he did kind of become a knight, didn't he? Oh, I'm so sad that it's over. It's one of my favorites. But guys, I loved reading it to you. I'm sad that we couldn't be together to finish it like we were in class. I hate that, but I'm glad that we got to do it together anyway. And you're going to be seeing a lot of my face, even though I can't see you in person. I'm going to be uploading lessons for you to watch. Sometimes I might just give you a riddle or something fun to do. And just remember that I miss you and I love you very much. And I love hearing from you or hearing from your parents. So guys, contact me. Okay, send me texts, send me that stuff. I love you very much and I miss you, and you're going to be seeing a lot of my crazy face. I'll see you guys later.